Hey, all you happy lost souls. How's everybody doing? I just want to reach out and say thanks again for your continued support. We're getting very close to 1,000 subscribers, which is excellent. Like I said, right around 1,000 subscribers, a video will be posted showing the 2 sapphires I'll be giving away to 2 lucky commenters. So all you guys have to do to enroll in this free sapphire giveaway right when I hit about 1,000 subscribers, to be eligible to win, all you have to do is leave a comment. This video or the 2 prior to this talking about the sapphire contest, the second sapphire contest. We already did one at 500, so we hit 1,000. We'll do another one. The winner will get a little gift package with the stones, a couple other little gifts, and a code. That code will be for future entry into a grand prize. So all the winners of the sapphire giveaways will eventually, probably around 10,000 subscribers, will be enrolled into a giant grand contest, which will be something super special, like some kind of console, computer, something nice, giveaway, just for the thank you and continued support. So the Happy Lost Souls channel started as a music channel, basically, and about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And it started out as a band that we played under called Balderdash for a while. And more or less started performing and writing my own songs. I only had about 19 or 20 subscribers when I was doing that. I started playing live, started getting a few more. But it was when I started posting stuff about my other hobby, my artifact hunting hobby, that's when my channel started really taking off. And you can see all these different artifacts I have found, and this is only a fraction of my collection that's shown. I got a tiny bit of it. A lot of it is packed away. It's all over the place. This is kind of my mad science room over here. Aluminum oxide or corundum, really pure, nice examples. They are usually cut and faceted and worth a lot of money as gemstones. Aluminum oxide can come in any color, from in the rainbow, come in black, brown, red, green, blue, orange, yellow, doesn't matter, any color under the sun. Pure aluminum oxide or pure sapphire is going to be a clear. It's kind of like this one right here. You see this guy? You see how clear this thing is? Look at this piece. This is pure aluminum oxide. And you can see that it tried to keep that home plate-like shape, that corundum shape. We look down into the corundum, and you can see that the formation, but this is extremely high quality aluminum oxide right here, this piece. And I polished this a bit. This piece wasn't even transparent until I started polishing. But you see how there's this grayish striping almost within the clear? That's because this was exposed to a trace element, most likely magnetite or hematite, because of the slight sheening in it. But you see that tic-tac-toe cross-grid pattern running through it, that pattern of the corundum formation. This is just really high quality. I call this shadow corundum because it's clear, but it also has these crazy black stripes through it, and when different light hits it, you get these different colors come out of it. So you can get blue at a certain angle. I don't know if I'm going to be able to see it in here. But that's more, and you can see the schist right there. So the aluminum oxide will never mix with the schist. The aluminum oxide needs a pocket of silicate-free zone to grow in, and it has to be under the right heat and pressure. And that schist gets cooked and pressurized in the metamorphic processes of the earth. It essentially, when there's pockets in between the schist of oxygen with a lot of aluminum content within the schist and other metals, this stuff boils and grows and forms out of it when it gets heated up enough. But I was going to show you guys this in my last video, and I never put a picture of it up there, this crazy piece. And we find corundums don't have to be beautiful looking when you find them either. You got to really have an eye. We go a lot by shape, like this beautiful piece of yellow corundum. And you can see how boxy and square it is, but yet you see that flat side right there. It's trying to keep that corundum shape. Now, if each side was flattened out, you could really see the corundum matrix, but it only formed that matrix on one side right there. But this is a big piece of yellow sapphire. And you can see how transparent this stuff really is once you get the gem light on it. This has not been polished. This is very rough. You got rough sapphire, yellow sapphire. You got rough blue sapphire. And this particular piece of blue sapphire is super important right here, because this was not found in the Pennypack. This is found in the Neshaminy watershed. And this stone shouldn't be over in the Neshaminy watershed because they don't have the right geology for aluminum oxide to be forming. What I believe was happening is the Native Americans were using this as a commodity and material to make things. I believe they were trading with it, and that's why you see some of it at a site, a Native American artifact site in the Neshaminy, and some of it, and majority of it, the quarries and mines where it's actually at, more over towards the Wissahick and Neshaminy area, or Pennypack areas, more down towards Philly and Huntington Valley, and in that area. You'll find a lot more sapphire and ruby type formations. You can really see the corundum right here. This is a beautiful Pad Paradassia corundum. It's an orangish color. And this is super rough. It hasn't been polished yet, but you can see how barrel formed it is, how the corundum forms this natural shape. And you'll get these ridges sometimes in the barrel formations. This is gold, blue sheen sapphire. Blue sheen sapphire is blue sapphire, or blue aluminum oxide. So how does the aluminum oxide go from clear to blue? Well, there's a lot of traces of titanium and magnetite within the structures of schist. During that process, exposure of trace amounts of titanium, ilmenite, will give you the blue. The gold sheening part, which almost makes this two-tone, you can see it's still in its corundum formation too. You got one against another forming together here. Beautiful piece. I saw a piece similar to this selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. This is a giant piece too. It's probably about 7 to 9 pounds. I have a huge, large ruby here. Now, rough rubies look sometimes like this, a brownish, reddish, but you can see this blue streaking, this gem barring running through. That's a telltale sign that we have some corundum right here, and how hard it is. You can see the color shift in the light. It'll go from red to brown. It's got a pigeon blood-like effect to it. Now, the blue stuff around me is absolutely gorgeous, some of it. We get some of this stuff, I call it sky blue. And the sky blue sapphire is absolutely crazy. Now, I do get some pushback on this. People tell me, you know, it's micro quartz or chalcedony or things like that. It looks very similar to those types of materials, but it's clearly rough sapphire and corundum because we have all kinds of hardness testers that we use, and we could test glass or quartz against it. And we see that this comes in around a 9 to 9.5 on the Mohs scale. This comes in around a 6.5, like glass should. They have these color changing properties. A lot of my stones will shift, especially the blue ones. They shift in different lights. They'll shift different shades of blue in different lights. This color shifting property, if it's blue to purple, like this one over here, this stone growing out of the schist right here, this beautiful bluish purple sapphire, color shifts. So we got this very darkish purple color, and now it's very purple. And now it's super purple. Now it'll go to like slate gray. It'll go to blue when there's no light on it. So this guy, and you can really see the matrix. You see the schist, and then you see the sapphire popping out of the growing, almost baked out of the top of the schist. We also got some rubification, and this is a very cool matrix, this piece right here. And you get really rough blue sapphire sometimes enveloped in yellow, and you see the gem band running through it, the blue running through the yellow. You get these two-tone. You got a lot of two-tone Pad Paradashias, yellow and reds, oranges and reds. I started cutting this a little bit, working on it. Very hard to cut and deal with this stuff. There's a nice ruby right there. Beautiful star corundum right there. Another super beautiful ruby. Some Pad Paradassia qualities to it. A lot of these will shift in light as well, these rubies. And then you get corundum ore, and corundum ore is really more like schist that has been, like all the sapphire, has been heated up, and you see all the sapphires running and popping out of it in the matrix. So it's really neat when you get the light on some of these. You see how blue they start to get. And this one really color shifts back here. Probably cut some of that down for the contest and polish it. I'm not sure yet. We've given out a yellow and a blue. Then you have this stuff. This is really rough sapphire back here. This would almost be considered blue. But then you look closer and you're like, no, this is not sapphire, even though it looks very similar to sapphire. Or dark blue sapphire. This is canthaldite. So is this. This is canthaldite. Looks like sapphire though. Looks like a two-tone sapphire, very similar. See the ruby coming out of the schist right there. I want to show you why my area is so crazy and unique geologically, to mention all these artifacts. So I started really finding all of the rubies and sapphires because of the artifacts. That's what I'm really into. And I found out that the ancient native people of this area, we don't really know who they are because they're older than what science accepts. This probably goes back in the 20 to 30,000 years ago mark, but a couple 10, 20, about 20,000 BC. Younger Dryas happened around 12,000. It's about 8,000 years before the Younger Dryas, so way before the Clovis culture. And the style of tools and artwork, these animal effigies that also double as tools, like this yellow side profile of a horse that is also a poker made out of corundum. This little turtle that is also a scraper made out of corundum. A turtle, snapper turtle head made out of yellow corundum. Woolly mammoth's head carved as a relief from sapphire, and the schist is the backing to the relief. All these scrapers made out of clear sapphire. Drill bits made out of corundum. Blades, like scalpel blades made out of corundum. Pokers made out of corundum. You see how yellow and clear this is. This is yellow sapphire pressure flaking tool. There's a pressure flaking end to chip off stone, and there's the handle to hold on to. We find a lot of fossils in my area. My area, we go back 200 and some million, 250 million years. It was the Cambriatic period. And up in the hills where I live, they were all ancient coral reef beds. The lowlands, where the creeks are, they were all under the ocean. Those creeks, the Pennypack especially, that creek was flowing under the ocean 250 million years ago, because the creek flows through a fault line, a geological area of extreme metamorphic vulcanization, perhaps comet or extraterrestrial impacts, and tons of unique geology from the plates moving into one another, especially down through the Wissahickon Valley area. Here's a big piece of fossilized coral. We find this in my area all the time. You see all the little polyps in there, little animals. You can see, I find other fossils too, like a fish. This got picked up because I thought it was a stemmed arrowhead, but that's the tail of a fish. You can see, you can make out its pectoral fin right there, its eye, little stem. It was probably some sort of angler fish, or a fish like a coelacanth, but a young one. This one is the fossil, and this is the back side. This is called a mold. It's a fossil mold, and it's the other side of the fish. I have a bird, fossilized bird head. Here's the eye organ, there's the beak, fossilized in limestone. We get a lot of these little fossils. We get trilobite fossils a lot. I'm trying to find where that one's at on here. No, it's on here somewhere. You got lots of fossilization going on. So, I can find a fossil in that one. Fossilized end of a bone, could be ancient human. We don't know. Then we find sites that arrowheads are left behind at, and different spearheads, and there's a sapphire arrowhead right there, different cutters, and we find these at these crazy sites. Another tool happened to the cutter, the blade. I don't know where that one went, but is not good. I gotta find that tool. Where the hell did that tool go? It's just wonderful. Anyway, I gotta find that because I don't see it now. Oh God, the stuff I found, this fossilized bone, the arrowheads and tools, were more reminiscent of Neanderthals. So we really just don't know how long humans were in North America, especially along the East Coast. A lot of this stuff is more reminiscent to Solutrean type tools to me. Just can't find that one stone cutter that's really important. I don't know what I did with it. Should have been in there somewhere. Well, we'll find it at some point. It's somewhere around. But that's an important one. But anyways, a lot of it started with the artifacts and finding tools made of the stuff. And I figured if all these tools, thousands of them made out of the stuff, were in the area, here's a really good example of a corundum tool. So somebody about 20,000 years ago carved a saw. You could still see the serration on the blade part of it. And this is made out of a brownish, light brownish to yellowish corundum or sapphire. This stuff is so hard to carve and to fracture that it wasn't fractured. The stuff was literally polished down using abrasion techniques. And you can see the wedge shape. And this is a very, very Solutrean style saw blade. But the fact that they were able to make it out of corundum, here's another corundum tool, a hammerhead or a pick. Oh, and this is a composite tool. This would have went onto a shaft. But I can't think of a better material to make these type of tools, impact tools, chippers, spears, cutters, knife blades out of than corundum. You didn't even have to flute the stuff. That's why I get a lot of kickback saying, oh, they're not artifacts. I don't see the stone work or the stone chipping or fluting. So, yeah, but they don't look like these type of arrowheads that you find walking through in a field. Like, that's Paleo woodland. That's a woodland period arrowhead. This stuff way older over here. This is extremely Solutrean in style. We find these diamond-like ones all the time, and these heart-shaped ones that are slightly... The Solutrean stuff did not flute it because it didn't have to be. The stuff is so thin and so strong because it's made out of aluminum oxide that you're not ever going to have to worry. A lot of these are more like bird points too, some of these smaller ones. But again, we get these very triangular type Solutrean type points. And when you've got a piece like this, for instance, this is not quartz and it looks just like quartz. It's actually aluminum oxide, and it was cut down into these thin strips because it already forms in these thin sheets when it grows. This stuff was mixed up for agate for a while until we got a hardness tester and started testing everything. I have videos up showing the tests done and all that stuff, so I'm not going to go through that again. But there's just a ton of it here, and it was only a few years back that I discovered most of it was aluminum oxide. The area is so bizarre geologically that we get stuff called eclogite. And this stuff here, and this is a good indication that rubies might be around. And somebody actually carved this, thousands of years ago. They used this material to make effigy pieces, either a turtle head or a bear head or something. They were found together in pairs, just as these three. Almost left as a spiritual offering of some sort, but who knows. But eclogite, this weird material, they don't really know where it comes from other than rubies are found in it and in association with it a lot, and it also usually has to be formed from an old ancient sea floor. So that makes a lot of sense from where we're finding the stuff. But geologically, my area is absolutely crazy. There's just no end to what you're going to find in the metamorphic type rock, because a lot of the metamorphic layer of the earth, the mantle, was pushed up in between two plates in my area, forming these bands, metamorphic banding. You get all kinds of Miocene gneiss, you get schists, you get shales, you get quartzites, you get different different types of stuff, and a lot of Wishick and schist. We have a ton of that around here. Wishick and schist right here. Someone made a hammer out of it or a window jamb, but I'm pretty sure the way this is weighted, it was a hand tool, and it was also found with another hand tool right here. The triangle. Oh, and the kelp. Found these three together in the Wissahickon. This is all in the Chamonix up here, and the rest is pretty much all pennypack. So there's more Wishick and schist. You could see how easy it was to shape. It can be cut in both directions. That's why they used it to make houses, but you could really make different shapes out of this schist. And then these little black dots you see growing out of the schist, some of them are just cavities where the actual garnet has fallen out, but these are little pieces of garnet, dark red, almost black garnet. Get some really rough corundum back there. Then another axe blade. This is a lot of Native American artifacts. So once I found out they were using a lot of corundum to make a lot of these tools, I figured we must have a lot of it in the area. So then a lot of the stuff that we thought was originally quartz, things like this. And the other thing is, it's very rare to find quartz that's light sky blue that color shifts different shades of blue. And, when you find a blue rock, especially around my area, it could be a couple things. It could be some form of blue-laced agate. It could be some chalcedony or some sort of microquartz. But quartz in itself can be gray, and smoky quartz happens a lot. I mean, we call it flint. But quartz is rarely ever blue. And agate, especially these light blues, like this one down here, this beautiful light blue piece, still in its like matrix form, coming out of the schist. This almost looks like a really rare kind of blue agate. I almost wish this was agate and not sapphire, because if it were blue agate, it would be worth probably $8,000 to $9,000 for a piece like this, because it's very rare in this color, a solid piece. But as we get on to it, we could tell that it's clearly just aluminum oxide. It's sapphire. Really like this lighter blue, though. You find a lot of dark blue. You find a lot in this shade, but this lighter blue that shifts in these purples, they're just absolutely incredible. And a lot of these are lighter blue with sheening. This is a beautiful example of a sheen sapphire. And I mean, it's still in its corundum form. And you can see the matrix. See the other bar one growing out of the back here. But I got all kinds. I don't even have close to the amount of actual sapphires and things that I own. I mean, I have a giant white one down here that's about 70 pounds. And you can see the eye formation, the other corundum formation. You can see a star right there in it. Stuff, we literally have mountains of it. And we have a lot of it around here. A lot of rubies, a lot of yellow sapphire, a lot of blue, a lot of color shift, a lot of pad paradacea, like these orange and yellow ones that change between two colors. Two tones, all kinds. A lot of ore that just has a bunch of sapphire within matrices still, like this one. And you can mistake it for blue agate, but if you get yourself a decent tester, you buy like 3 or 4 of them. They're like $8 to $10. Buy them all, test them against each other. Use a piece of crystal or glass, get a base setting. Your sapphire should come in around 3 to 4 times higher than the glass. If the glass is at a 5 or 6, or a 4 or 5 or 6, the sapphire should be 2 to 3 times higher. It should be between 8 and 9. So we get our little tester out. We test the glass. This is way harder. It's way harder. It's not quartz, and it's not agate. But really, really rough rubies look like this many times. This is a huge rough ruby. It's my biggest one I've ever found. It weighs about 6-7 pounds, maybe a little more. You have this beautiful gem banding, the blue in there. And that's what you'll see. You'll see a mixture of these darker reds and blues a lot, and they'll give it this color shift from a purple to a fiery red, which is what we call pigeon blood. See how that color just shifted to more of a red or a darkish brown? Now we can see the blue in there. You can actually buy a filtered lens. When you hold up the lens, and it's this red lens, and when you put it over a ruby, it'll make the ruby look blue through it. If it does not look blue through that lens, then it's probably not a ruby. Rubies are pretty easy to identify. They're really, really hard. There's not many stones that are that color, but when they're muddy and dirty, you don't know one from another. So what I suggest, if you're going out rock hounding to find these, is don't really, unless you see the color of it, then it's a giveaway of where it's at, but don't look so much for color, but look look where all the other rocks are round. The sapphires usually aren't all the way around it because they're so hard. They usually maintain their angular facets and things like that even when they're being beaten up in the water. Some of them will round out a little bit like this, but mainly they're heavier than quartz. You can feel the density. They form these little barrels a lot of times, these little square shapes, hexagons. They have this tic-tac-toe crisscrossing that runs through them, forming stars and what we call star sapphires. We can kind of see it back here in one where the outside layer of this sapphire was really withered away, but you could see all the starring in it. So it's pretty incredible. See all the starring in the corundum right there. So very, very cool stuff. But yes, please subscribe. Please throw a comment up to this video or the other 2 videos discussing the second sapphire giveaway. Subscribe to Happy Lost Souls. Put a comment up, put one up on this video, and enter yourself for free in the free sapphire giveaway. I'll be giving away a smaller blue and a smaller yellow one together to one lucky person. And pretty much all that happens is I take all the names that comment and I put all the YouTube handles into a hat and I make a drawing video and I announce the winner, and then I contact the person by Happy Lost Souls email to get their information to send the stone out to them for free. Within this gift package there'll be a special code that you're going to want to hold on to. If you're a winner, you'll get a code. That code will be used as a grand prize entry code. One of those codes will be selected around 10,000 subscribers for a free giveaway that is going to be a much more valuable thing to people, like maybe a device of some sort, like a computer or a gaming system or a phone or something like that, or a gift card, who knows. But yeah, the stones that you'll receive won't make you rich. These are rough. They're not cut yet. They're not heat treated. But you'll still have a sapphire, some aluminum oxide to write home about. So anyways, I love you all. And please be safe and please subscribe to Happy Lost Souls. And stay tuned for more videos. If you like discussions about the ancient world and mysterious cultures that were once in North America that mainstream science kind of ignores the evidence of, then you're in the right place. Reach out, give me your feedback. If you find similar things in your area, please let me know. I've talked to so many people across the United States finding very similar objects and items. The efficacy is there. There's a pattern. A lot of this stuff is not dated. We get a lot of hammers. You can see the recess carved out in the hammer. But this extremely crazy material right here is some kind of quartzite or schist that has heavily been heat treated. It's got some rubification in it, some dyeing on it. But it really seems like the schist was utilized. And here's another hammer. You see the carve out right there, the flat part for the handle of the hammer. And you got to pick. So you got a lot of tools that are reminiscent to quarrying and stoneworking. You got different time periods. Look at how different this efficacy is on this style tool. This is all fractured. This is a fracture tool. And we know, based on other archaeology, that fractured tools were supposed to be even older than the ones that were smoothed out. A lot of these smoother tools started making appearances in the Mesolithic time period, the Middle Stone Age, when we were getting away from hunting and gathering into agriculture. So they found out by smoothing down the edges and creating less friction, you can clear trees and cut through wood a lot easier with that method of polishing or smoothing the stone rather than fracturing the edges. And you see the transformation. You can see right here is one that's been polished and smoothed down. And it's some kind of adze or some kind of cutting tool. You can see the edge on it still. These are ancient. This is found above this. So this was actually, they were found, actually, it's hard to even date these. And that's why the point I was just going to bring up, a lot of this is garbage pail archaeology. A lot of it is undateable. You see the artifact pitch on top of that hammer, though. It's organic material left to pretty much fortify the attachment of the handle to the stone tool. So these were composite tools. They weren't being used by hand. They had a shaft or another thing to give it leverage or power, a two-piece or composite tool. So these are probably 7, 8, 9,000 years old. This is probably 10 or 11,000 years old. But then this is where it gets confusing. We see these smoothed out artifacts with the time period of people that were using the corundum or the aluminum oxide. But the reason this is polished out is because there's no other way to work with this stone. You can't fracture this stuff. It's too hard. Unless you had steel and you had, presses and things like that, you just can't fracture it with another rock of the same hardness, maybe of the same hardness. Maybe if you took a piece of, corundum that was sharpened like this and you heated one of them up. I think through heat and through polishing, and you figure the sand in these creeks, because there's so much aluminum oxide, it's pretty much aluminum oxide powder, a lot of the sand. It's granular aluminum oxide. So if you take some of that sand and a rough stone and you just polish this stuff over and over again, you're probably going to get a smooth tool. And this might be something right here that was maybe even used to polish. You see this other giant hammer, and you can see the band from where the actual, you see the line or the band from where the leather or the piece of sinew or whatever material was used to bind this down. But this material is super rough. It's almost like a granite. Super heavy too. It's got a lot of metal in it. So it's some sort of, this could be gneiss, Miocene gneiss. It's some kind of metamorphic, heavily laden with metals. There's aluminum, or there's titanium in there, right there. So this could, because it's so abrasive, could have been used to do all kinds of things with. It could have been used to grind like this with. It could have been used to sand stuff down with like this. If it was on a strap, it was probably some sort of sander, something that they were able to move with a band around it faster. I have no idea, but it's very, very unique. I find all these hammer-like tools on a place called the Beach of Hammers. It's an ancient quarry site where they were using these to dig out the stone that they wanted. And I would say that some of it might even dump over into, around 2000 BC to 1000 AD, where you had this influence of people known as the Susquehannocks moved in, but I think they were heavily related to the Mayans and to Cahokia, the trading center between the Native Americans of the Great Lakes area and the Native Americans of the South, South America, the Mayans and the Aztecs. The meeting place for them would have been Cahokia, this middle ground, this ancient city of mounds, one of the biggest Mesolithic cities ever in North America from that time period. It disappeared around 1000 AD. I think the trade networks were vast in this quarrying operation. There's so much stuff around that it is industrial. So at some point, I believe these quarries were utilized by people specifically going after gemstones or higher end materials for art and for carving. But anyways, I love y'all, and remember, please comment, subscribe, enroll yourself into the Happy Lost Souls free Sapphire giveaway contest. I love y'all. Peace. Please be safe. Please subscribe.